Well, even though the blow was the only injury, we thought it'd be wise to check on the condition of the fetus, and I just want to
Wait a second, wait a minute.
Yes?
Check on the condition of what?
Well, the baby, Mr. Scott.
Oh, you guys are really blowing it this time. Hell, we're not even talking about the same patient.
April Scott, female, Caucasian, blonde hair, very pretty.
Yeah, pretty, very pretty, but not pregnant.
Well, she certainly is. According to Dr. Slocum, she's just about entering her 3rd month.
Dr. Katz to emergency. Dr. Katz to emergency.
Miles.
You're going to be stiff and sore if you slept like that all night long.
Oh, is it morning already?
Yes, it is. I'm just about to start my rounds. I'm surprised they didn't kick you out of here. You must look too pitiful. Come on, Papa. Let's go have ourselves some coffee.
Wait a minute, Papa.
Dr. Williams, please call.
It's true then, huh?
339.
April's pregnant.
Yeah? It's true.
You know, I kept asking the nurses and the doctors if April were awake at night. They said no. So she hasn't even heard the news yet. April's pregnant. She doesn't even know it. Miles, it's a miracle. Imagine how April's going to feel when she hears about this.
Yeah, I know. She's going to feel even better about that business of Jamie and Raven and Logan.
Yeah. Hey, I know it's early, but you think I can get in to see her now?
No. Visiting hours don't start for another half hour.
Miles.
Look, all right, let me buy you the coffee, all right? And a little bit of breakfast. You starving?
Yeah, I think I could use some.
Let's go. After you've fortified yourself, you can come back and tell April the good news. She's going to have a bad headache when she wakes up, and this ought to make her feel better.
Yeah, you know, there's something April has to tell us. Just what the hell happened at Margo's. Yeah, thanks.
Looking at me like that.
The last time, April, you really thought I was gonna throw you off the terrace, didn't you? You really thought I was capable of doing such a thing. But then you've been sick. You've been sick since you've broken up with your husband. We all know that. We all know that if you suddenly leapt off the terrace in a moment of despair, we wouldn't be surprised, would we? Come, let's take a look at the view, April.
Poor Margo.
Well, I really appreciate your bringing this stuff by from the studio. There was absolutely no way I could go to the office today, not with everything that's happening.
Oh, well, I know. I don't mind coming over here to work, but let's hurry up. I know you're anxious to get back to the hospital and see April.
Same, and as a matter of fact, why don't we both go over there together as soon as we get this tape schedule straightened out, all right?
Miles is there already. He had some calls to make on some other patients.
She will be all right, won't she? I mean, the doctor told me last night I shouldn't worry.
Yeah, she'll be fine. When she hears this news about the baby, she's going to be even better. It's incredible, isn't it?
Almost a miracle. In fact, I thought at first it was a mistake that they'd mixed up the records or something.
Oh, no. Miles talked to the obstetrician who made the examination, and there's no question about it. I mean, she must have had some signs of pregnancy before, but I guess she's just so convinced that she couldn't have a baby that she just assumed they were for other causes.
I know she wasn't feeling well, but... Well, I just hope it makes a difference in the marriage, I mean.
Oh, I'm sure it will. When doesn't a baby make a difference?
Well, it can happen. I mean, sometimes differences are so great they're irreconcilable.
Well, I'm sure it'll make a difference now. It really worries you that much?
To tell you the truth, I am as worried about my husband as I am my daughter.
Why? What's the matter with Elliott?
Oh, Nicole, he didn't come home last night.
Margo.
No, it's not that. I mean, I know where he is. I called the Unicorn this morning and was told that he was still sleeping soundly in his office where he'd spent the night. But what really worried...
Mrs. Dorn,
Oscar, at last.
sorry I'm late, but my arthritis was just killing me this morning.
Well, it's last night that I'm really concerned about. I suppose you heard my daughter had a terrible accident.
Yes, ma'am. Louis the Nightman told me about that. I'm real sorry about that, ma'am.
I was just wondering if maybe you could shed some light on the incident. Do you know anything?
No, Mrs. Dorn, not much I know about it. All I know is Mr. Dorn came home about 5:30, and then that lady came upstairs.
What lady?
You know, the one who used to work here, Miss Albright?
Sarah was here?
Yes, ma'am, to see Mr. Dorn. He said something about her collecting some back pay.
All right, let's first talk about this part that Willard will play.
He's a terribly charming man, Mr. Maysfield, just like yourself.
Oh, I used to be charming, Mrs. Madison, but these days I prefer the word cantankerous.
Oh, well, you're nothing of the sort.
Oh, yes, I am. It took a long time for me to get old enough to be cantankerous, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Well, at any rate, this person, Edmund Whalen, is an attorney, a very proper mutton chop sort of an attorney. And don't forget, the year is 1872, and lawyers in those days were very puffy over their dignity.
Yeah, they're not much different today. I mean, certainly the ones I know anyway.
Edmund is a very paternal man, Mr. Maysfield. That's the way I see him. He's known Hester Atherton ever since she was a little girl. Probably dandled her on his knee.
And if I had dandled you on my knee, Mrs. Madison, there would have been nothing paternal about it.
At any rate, let me describe this scene. Hester Atherton is a spinster lady who lives all alone in this gloomy old castle of a house in Salem.
Why does it have to be a castle? Why can't it be an old Victorian mansion?
Yeah, because her eccentric old father liked castles, I guess.
Yes, and so does our set designer.
Well, anyway, Hester lives alone with a couple of servants. Now, she has plenty of money, but she's a very lonely, unhappy woman.
Yes, you see, her father had forbidden her to marry some young scoundrel about 25 years before. Said he was a fortune hunter.
Which he probably was. But anyway, Hester is no better off now than she would have been if her father had allowed the marriage.
So what does Edmund feel about that?
Well, he's sympathetic. He likes Hester. He never really liked her father, even if he was his old friend.
And now, Edmund Whalen, attorney at law, has come to see Hester Atherton to ask her to change her way of life. Well, let's begin at the top of page 12.
Oh, I think that's where I've just asked Hester how well she remembered her young cousin, Patience Revere.
Looks like your cue, Nola.
Yes, I see it. Patience. Yes, of course I remember her. All sniffles and pigtails, always hiding under her mother's apron.
Well, that was when Patience was a small child, of course. She's 20 now. Unfortunately, there's no mother's apron to hide behind.
Yes, I heard about the fire, of course. Terrible tragedy.
Oh, in one night, Patience lost mother, father, and little brother. She was at school at the time. Well, she still is. But in a month, her schooling will be finished, and she will be ready to face the world.
As an orphan. Poor child.
As a homeless orphan, Hester.
Edmund, are you suggesting that I take some responsibility for Patience Revere?
Well, it has occurred to me that you could use a companion, Hester. This house is far too big for one occupant and far too gloomy. You know, it turns loneliness into melancholy.
But I cherish my loneliness, Edmund. Didn't my dear father bless me with it a quarter of a century ago? It's my inheritance, my legacy. Just like the mill, like this house.
Loneliness does something else, Hester. It nourishes bitterness.
It's not bitterness. It's the truth. He drove away the only man who ever wanted to marry me.
Oh, well, there you are. Excuse me. We didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry, Jason. Well, what is it? Steve, I didn't know you were coming out here today.
Well, Mr. Madison, we're here on police business.
Oh, dear. Is there something the matter?
Well, that's what we wanted to talk to you about. Excuse me, this is Deputy Birdwell. I'll let him explain things.
I'm Owen Madison, Deputy. What seems to be the trouble?
Well, we don't really know, Mr. Madison. We thought maybe you could tell us.
About the lights, people have been seeing lights in the building out here at nighttime.
Lights? What lights?
Sounds like you're running up quite an electric bill, Owen.
But we never leave the lights out after we lock up. Oh, my God, it sounds to me like we've got prowlers.
Yeah, well, some people say ghosts.
We're not suggesting that your studio is haunted. The reason we're concerned is we know there's a lot of very valuable equipment out here.
You're darn right there is. There's about $100,000 worth of camera equipment lying around.
And there'll be even more of value when our sets get up.
Well, I hope you're insured, Owen.
That's not the point, Jason. We really can't afford to be interrupted in the middle of production by petty thefts.
Mr. Madison, have you noticed anything missing?
No, nothing to my knowledge.
Well, did you see any signs of breaking and entering, like busted locks, windows, anything like that?
No, honestly, nothing at all.
Well, Deputy, I thought these stories were coming from people with overactive imaginations.
You mean the people who are always seeing flying saucers and little green men?
Well, old Mrs. Bryce, who lives down at Mill Pond, well, she's about as level-headed as they come, and she said there was a light moving around inside this place.
Well, there may have been. We're obviously renovating the place, as you can see.
You do your renovation after midnight?
No, we don't.
Mr. Madison, I'm afraid it sounds like you have intruders. Although I don't know how people get in here without breaking in.
Or maybe there are secret passages.
Yeah, right. May I suggest find a night watchman?
Yeah, well, we did discuss that, actually.
I don't suppose you're in the market for a job, Mr. Guthrie.
No, thank you, Mrs. Madison. I'm full-time on the police force now.
Detective Guthrie did an absolutely wonderful job protecting our daughter, Paige.
Mr. Madison. If you're looking for somebody to watch this place, maybe I can help.
Is there someone you can recommend?
No, I guess I meant myself. You see, I'm only a part-time deputy, and I'm free most nights.
Well, I think that's a very good idea, Owen. For one thing, Deputy Birdwell, was it?
Yes, ma'am.
Deputy Birdwell undoubtedly knows everyone in town.
Mm-hmm.
And if he spots some young rascals
Well, that
around...
certainly makes sense. I mean, if we hire a local lawman, that's certainly going to discourage these night prowlers.
Unless they are ghosts, of course.
Yes, well, how do we know they're not? At least that would certainly explain how they got into the studio without breaking in doors or windows.
Mrs. Madison, I'm sure we'll find a very human explanation for all this.
You know, I think you people are really beginning to take this ghost business seriously. You really believe this material.
I believe in movies, Willard. That's all.
And how about you, Deputy?
Well, I don't see many movies. Or ghosts, for that matter.
We were hoping you could tell us. All we know is you were found unconscious in Margo's living room. And you had a lump on your head the size of a croquet ball.
How'd I get here?
In an ambulance. We weren't even sure what your condition was until they took x-rays. You're going to be all right, but you had a concussion.
Who found me?
Margo did. She came back from her political dinner, and there you were. Do you have any recollection of what happened?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I do. It's a little hazy, but I do.
Were you dizzy? Miles said you might have had dizzy spell.
Miles there, too?
No. He's in the hospital, though, visiting some patients. I think he just wanted to give us some time alone.
Maybe he's right about being dizzy. I haven't felt well for a couple of days now.
Well, I think I know what's wrong with you.
Oh, you do, Doctor? Tell me.
Well, first of all, you missed me terribly. You couldn't stand being apart from me, and that made you very, very sick.
Oh, well, you're partially right. I did feel miserable being away from you. It was very cold and very lonely.
Good. Also, it's something else, but it's something that usually happens to women when they're pregnant.
Well, then why would I have symptoms like that?
Well, this dizziness, the sickness, I usually had in the morning, right?
Yeah. Oh, come on, you're not gonna tell me that I am suffering from a psychological illness because of Jamie and all that.
No, I'm telling you that you have the real thing. April, you're pregnant. You're going to have a baby.
Deborah, I don't want to hear any bad jokes. I have a very bad headache.
April, no, I'm not joking. I'm serious.
Are you trying to tell me that you've changed your mind about Jamie and you want Jamie to stay with us?
No, I'm trying to tell you that the doctors in Mayfield who said you'd never have a baby after the fall were wrong. We're in our 3rd month.
We?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh, I don't believe it. It really is a miracle. I mean, after those doctors were so positive in Mayfield.
It was only one doctor, and he didn't say impossible. He just said unlikely.
Well, it doesn't matter now. What really matters now is that it's true.
And the timing couldn't be better, believe me.
Speaking of timing, I guess I have been off all these past couple of days, acting like a mad woman, huh?
No, you were acting like a woman who had her child taken away from her. It wasn't your fault. It was Raven. She made you feel like Jamie belonged to you.
Well, I was still wrong to say those things that I did to you.
Well, maybe I was wrong, too, in just giving the baby back to Logan without talking to you. I didn't know what else to do.
Logan, oh, boy, God, I must have made him miserable lately.
Don't worry about that. He'll get over that.
April? No, please don't. Oh, I'm sorry. Does your head hurt that much?
Well, it's bad, but it's getting better, especially since I heard some good news. Have you heard some good news?
Yes, I heard the good news. I was here at the hospital last night when the doctor told us.
Mm-hmm.
Darling, I'm very thrilled for you. Very proud. I'm happy for both of you.
Thank you.
April, I've got to know something. I've got to know how this happened. How did you injure yourself last night?
I, turned quickly. I must have gotten dizzy because of the pregnancy, and I fell.
That just doesn't explain everything quite. Darling, were you alone last night?
Look, of course she was alone. I mean, why shouldn't she be? You were at that political dinner, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Well, what about Elliott? I mean, he wasn't there, was he? April. Was Elliott there?
I don't really want to talk about this just right now.
Please, darling, you've got to tell me. Did Elliott have anything to do with this? Honey, it's just that so many things don't make sense. I mean, Sarah and the jewels suddenly appearing. Darling, look, I know that Elliott was not there when I found you, and I know that he didn't come home last night, and I know that he spent the night at the Unicorn, and now I find out that Sarah was there, and that... Darling, I've got to know the truth. Please tell me. Did Elliott have anything at all to do with what happened to you?
Yes.
Seems as though a harmony is hard to find, always on our mind, and frustrated days pass without sight, the edge of night, half dark, half light, as we watch our hearts trying to hold the tender